Imagine falling from a height of over 33,000 feet. That's almost 7 miles straight down, faster than a speeding bullet, with nothing but air between you and the ground. For most, it's a terrifying thought, a one-way ticket to the end. But for one woman, it was the beginning of a legend. This is the unbelievable true story of Vesna Vulović, the flight attendant who fell from the sky and lived to tell the tale. Our story begins on a cold day, January 26, 1972. Jot Flight 367 was on its scheduled route from Stockholm to Belgrade with a stopover in Copenhagen. On board was 22-year-old Vesna Vulović, a flight attendant who, by a strange twist of fate, wasn't even supposed to be on that flight. She had been mixed up with another flight attendant who was also named Vesna. It was a simple administrative error, one that would irrevocably change her life forever. The plane, a McDonnell Douglas DC-29, took off from Copenhagen at 3:15 p.m. Everything seemed perfectly normal. Passengers were settling in, and the crew was performing their duties. Just 46 minutes into the flight, as the aircraft soared at 33,333 feet over the snowy mountains of Czechoslovakia, disaster struck. Without any warning, a massive explosion ripped through the baggage compartment. The force of the blast was catastrophic, tearing the plane into 3 pieces in midair. In the chaos that followed, passengers and crew were sucked out into the freezing, thin air. The main body of the fuselage, a twisted wreck of metal, began its terrifying plummet to the earth. Inside this metal coffin was Vesna, pinned by a food trolley against a section of the tail. She was trapped as the wreckage hurtled towards the ground. She was unconscious, unaware of the incredible G-forces and the sheer terror of the fall. The wreckage slammed into a steep, snow-covered mountainside near the village of Serebeskeg. The deep snow and the angle of the slope acted as a cushion, absorbing some of the tremendous impact. It was a 1 in a million chance, but it was just the first miracle of that day. A local villager named Bruno Honk, a former World War II medic, heard the explosion and rushed to the crash site. Amidst the smoldering debris and eerie silence, he heard a sound of faint scream. Following the cries, he discovered Vesna, barely alive, amidst the wreckage. She was coated in blood, her bright turquoise uniform ripped to shreds, and her high-heeled shoes had been blown off her feet by the force of the fall. Bruno's medical training kicked in. He saw she was critically injured, but alive. He did what he could to keep her stable until rescuers arrived. Vesna's injuries were horrific. She had a fractured skull to crushed vertebrae that left her temporarily paralyzed from the waist down, a broken pelvis, several broken ribs, and both of her legs were broken. She fell into a coma that lasted 4 days. Doctors were grim about her chances of survival, let alone walking again. But Vesna was a fighter. She awoke from her coma, but with amnesia. She couldn't remember the flight, the explosion, or the fall. Her last memory was of greeting passengers as they boarded the plane in Denmark. Her parents had to gently break the news to her, showing her a newspaper headline. When she finally learned what happened, she reportedly wanted to see the article and fainted upon reading it. Her recovery was nothing short of miraculous. After multiple surgeries and months of grueling rehabilitation, she not only survived but regained her ability to walk, though she walked with a limp for the rest of her life. The investigators concluded that a bomb, likely hidden in a suitcase, had been planted on the plane. Vesna's position, pinned by the food cart inside a section of the fuselage, protected her from the initial blast and the fatal plunge. Vesna Vulović's fall from 33,333 feet earned her a place in the Guinness World Records for the highest fall survived without a parachute. She became a national hero in Yugoslavia. Despite her traumatic experience, she had no fear of flying. In fact, she wanted to return to her job as a flight attendant, but the airline gave her a desk job instead, fearing her presence on a plane would be too much of a spectacle. Her story became a symbol of incredible luck and human resilience. But it's important to remember the 27 other souls on board who weren't so fortunate. Vesna lived with the heavy weight of being the sole survivor, a burden she carried with grace and humility throughout her life. While Vesna's record is the most extreme, she's not the only person to survive a seemingly impossible fall. In 1943, American gunner Alan McGee fell 22,000 feet from his damaged B-17 bomber and crashed through the glass roof of a train station, which cushioned his landing. Royal Air Force Sergeant Nicholas Alcamard survived an 80,000-foot fall from his burning Lancaster bomber, landing in a snow-covered pine forest and walking away with just a sprained leg. Even modern-day adventurer Bear Grylls survived a 16,000-foot fall in a parachuting accident. These stories defy logic and our understanding of physics. They are tales of sheer luck, perfect conditions, and the indomitable will to live. Vesna Vulović's survival is perhaps the most incredible of them all. A story of a simple scheduling mix-up that led to an ordinary woman enduring an extraordinary ordeal, falling from the edge of the sky and living to become a legend. Her story reminds us that even in the face of absolute catastrophe, there can be hope, and that the human spirit can sometimes achieve the impossible. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as incredible as we did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more amazing tales of survival and human history. Let us know in the comments, what do you think about Vesna's unbelievable story? Until next time, stay curious.